This program is designed to provide general information with regards to the subject matters covered. This information is given with the understanding that neither the hosts, guests, sponsors, or station are engaged in rendering any specific and personal, medical, financial, legal, counseling, professional service, or any advice. You should seek the services of competent professionals before applying or trying any suggested ideas.
Welcome to Behind the Scenes, for your half-assed entertainment news with no bullshit, with our hosts, Summer Helene and Bear Fiorda, only on Talk 4 Media.
G'day, guys. Welcome to Behind the Scenes. I'm your overtired, COVID-y host, Summer Helene, and we're on with COVID-y. I am at the tail end of COVID. We've had COVID in the house for like 2 weeks. Nobody slept last night because we were up. Well, I mean, he did, but we were up working. So I'm like having conversations with my sister in the background. She's like fixing food because we're starving. And I'm like, did you wash your hands? She's like, no. I'm like, why am I having this conversation with an adult human? Apparently it's because she's had like an hour's sleep. Like that affects people. I'm just saying.
I slept like a baby last night. I went to bed crisp at like 1:30 in the morning. I slept all the way through to about 8 or so, maybe even a little bit after that.
Then what's your excuse for screwing up my lipstick?
What? Oh, that's not overtired. That's just inability to peel things without nails. I have nubs right now.
Mm-hmm. I'm just saying.
Either way, I feel very well rested, everyone. So I hope you all feel good yourselves. I'm sorry you don't. I wish you felt better.
I have had.
What do you have?
I have Coca-Cola.
Why do you have Coca-Cola?
Because you're cutting weight, and it means you can't actually get my food today.
You're gonna get sick.
Well, see, Bear's cutting weight.
Yeah, I have.
Fashion week.
I have to model in several different fashion weeks. One of them I might not, but at least doing a couple of them. See, this is a ploy. You want me to do that? Yeah, I'll get him when she's not paying attention. Either way, so because I have to do that, I have to lose weight and then probably even do a secret modeling and fighter trick called dehydrate.
Yeah, it's just so his muscles show.
Yeah, it's just so that I look better on. Jesus Christ, I made a mess.
Fine, they're yours.
All right, I get them all? All right, cool. I get all of them. Yay.
So anyway.
Come on. Were we advertising McDonald's? They sponsored this show?
No, Lex just brought me back a sandwich. So tell me about your modeling thing.
This episode of Behind the Scenes brought to you by Bear's Starving Ass. No, there's actually a lot of things to talk about. We can start with the what is it? The pro. It's not fat phobic. It's the what's the hell? The movement that accepts obese people.
Really
what is it called?
With food around you, can you?
What is that movement that accepts obese people?
Positivity.
Fat positivity.
They eat shit like this and go, gee, why am I fat?
Fuck fat positivity. No, they go like this and think, gee, I'm healthy. That's what they think. Gee.
Well, there's lettuce on it. It counts as healthy, right, babe?
Yep, totally counts. Fuck fat positivity. If you are morbidly obese or unhealthy, you should not be. I don't want to look at the food. You should not be eating more Big Macs. I'm trying to ignore that this is here.
I'm just eating.
Put it over there. Take it off camera. I got fries.
So fat positivity is a whole thing.
How am I supposed to get picked up by our guest if I'm eating a bunch of junk food?
I don't know what you mean.
What do you mean you don't know what I mean? We can't continue
this.
the show. I just spit food onto the mic. Jesus Christ.
You don't have to eat this. I'm eating this. You don't have to.
You're not eating it.
Okay,
You're holding it up in front of me.
Okay, I will take a big old bite of it. I can't take that big a bite, but that's pretty good.
All right, I'm gonna go.
No, that's mine.
I'm gonna move this now. No, it can stay right there. I don't want. I'm so confused right now. Oh man.
He's gonna eat it.
I'll eat it later for sure.
$5 says he'll eat it within the next 5 minutes.
Fine. I'll bet you. Actually, I won't bet you at all. I'll lose that bet.
Alexis, do you want to come around here and take that away from him, please?
No, leave it alone. It's mine.
Okay, so now he's fighting the assistant for the food. Now, we're going to talk about weight cutting in MMA. How about that?
I've marked my territory.
Lex, take it.
I'm going to cut your hands off. You thief.
Something
We're going to
people-
get biblical in here if you keep trying to take my food.
I think something people miss, and Bear can attest to this.
So much so.
Junk food is addictive.
Don't starve the bear.
So-
I know, right?
Oh.
What are they doing to me?
We have Cassidy, Mr. Thrust.
Mr. Thrust.
I like that.
And
Yana.
Yana, my
Hi.
manager. Good to see you, Yana. Yeah, don't starve me. That's a direct instruction.
No, that's not what any of that means.
That's not?
No,
I feel like it should.
no.
Okay.
But essentially what it means. So when you look at fat positivity and all this dumb shit that everyone's doing with fat positivity.
Mhm.
Now, that being said, I used to be a Victoria's Secret model. Now I look like I ate the old version of myself. So when I tell you this, I'm telling you this from somebody that put on weight. I put on weight because I was eating shit. It's what happens. It happened during COVID. I figured this was good to have for fat positivity conversation. Bear is one of the most physically fit people
You have a napkin?
that you will ever meet. But
Thank
realistically,
you.
this is the level of
Thank you again.
addictive junk food is. People can't be around it without wanting to eat it because you're
Oh, yeah.
programmed for it. I'm sorry you became a social experiment without
No,
your
I
knowledge.
absolutely, I was raised on, my mother worked really, really hard. She did cook a lot of meals, but she also did eat out a lot because she was, at times she was working 2 different jobs. So it just didn't make sense
She
to
was
go
also
home.
a single mother.
Yeah, it didn't make sense to come back and cook a whole meal when there really wasn't time to, and she's tired. Easier to pick up fast food. I get it. I've done it. And it creates an addiction. You have it enough times, that material, that chemicals that sits inside you, and it's designed to make you want more, which is why I get why people are obese. It totally makes sense, but we shouldn't be saying it's okay and that it's healthy.
Well,
Now,
that's
they
you've
need
never
help.
done
They
that
need
without
to seek
kids.
counseling. They need to seek, honestly, maybe even some kind of rehabilitation, but
I agree.
it's not.
Well, I'm
not
happy
good
to
for
see
you.
that the insurance companies in the United States are covering things like Ozempic.
Mhm.
I know because I'm taking
Really
it.
help people get on a better lifestyle. Anything. It doesn't matter to me. No, I meant he gets cranky if you don't feed him.
Oh, very, very much.
I love that. Oh, speaking of which, Gavin, I saw that photo of yours and it is absolutely amazing. So those of you who don't know, one of our listeners right now, Mr. Thrust, is Gavin on a different profile. He designed this AI generated image of me as a bear, as a cage fighter.
Could
I
we-
think it's
Can
absolutely
we put that up for a second?
fantastic.
Is that possible?
We'll probably have it up in a second.
Did you email it to him?
I did send it. So
Okay.
we'll work on that.
See if you got
It'll
it.
come in at some point, I'm
we
sure.
emailed it. We emailed it to the tech. So I haven't.
Oh,
received
yeah,
the
he has not
image.
received the image. Gosh
Okay,
darn it.
That's why, Jared.
It's not here. I promise we'll send it and show you guys here in as soon
Whenever
as
it comes up, put resend. He's saying resend it.
I don't know. Let me see if I can.
Alexis, would you resend this image because Jared
Yeah, I'll find it and then
was
she can
distracted by McDonald's.
listen. McDonald's is important to me, okay? As we just said, it is an addiction.
Why?
Hard to say actually.
Did you airdrop that to Alexis?
Oh, right. I probably should do that. Sorry. I'm trying to get back to food, honestly. So
No,
keep
I
forgetting.
need you to airdrop that to Alexis.
I can't airdrop. I can send
Okay,
it.
let's
Text.
send that to Alexis. And do we need to take the food away from you?
Maybe.
So, or either eat it or we need to take it away.
I'll eat it. Can I eat it progressively?
Sure.
All right,
But I
we
need you
got
to actually focus on the show.
Okay.
And I think this is a good example when we talk about people in the fat positivity community
Mhm.
going, I'm not addicted to food.
Oh, it's totally an addiction. It takes over your life. You hide it. When you start hiding your behaviors, by the way, it's an addiction. That's what's happening with these people. And that's why I try.
You hide food when you're cutting weight.
Absolutely. And that's why I try to encourage people to not shame someone else who is going through that process. Because when you shame them, you make it like a dirty, bad thing that they're doing. And then they don't go seek the help. You have to motivate and help them help themselves. Not saying it's your responsibility. Just don't go out there and be a butthole to somebody.
That being said, I think the fat positivity movement, and by the way, most of the leaders of the fat positivity movement are dead. They have died. Google it.
Yep. Or dead, or they're like reversing it and they're
Oh, yeah,
they're losing weight now for
who-
health reasons. What was
Who
it?
is that fat bitch that lied?
Oh my god.
I'd like to remind
Tess
everyone.
Holliday.
Yes,
Tess
every time
Holliday.
we use bad language on the show, we give money to the Boys and Girls Club of America, the Humane Society of America, and Free MMA. We swear because we care.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, Tess Holliday. So she's this gigantic cow that lied about having anorexia and bulimia. Now I can tell you, I know, I don't know if Bear's manager wants me to share Yana. I know she and I am now. Sorry, Yana. I know she dealt with bulimia in high school. I was fully anorexic and bulimic the entire time I was modeling. I only stopped when I fostered, then adopted a young girl that came to me with bulimia. Bulimia is often stress related, not weight related. She was 5. I couldn't have anorexia and bulimia and fix what was going on with her.
That makes sense.
So she probably saved my life. She probably saved my life coming in. She's like in the background, giving me thumbs up.
But that's it's important that you did that too. It makes you not just a good parent, a good person, but it means you can recognize when something is a problem and you can deal with it. How did you deal with it, by the way?
But I stopped.
Well,
it was difficult. Now I still have nausea problems. I still don't. I mean, you know what my eating habits are. We live together. I don't eat a lot. I mostly eat sugar, because I look for high energy, low calorie foods. And believe it or not, sugar is not that high calorie, and it gives you a lot of energy for short boosts. It's just terrible for you.
That makes sense. I can see that.
So I've always been. I've always had a troubled relationship with food. Like with me, I can grab the food, play with Bear and him eat it, and I won't touch it again.
Yeah.
I'm not interested in that way, but I didn't grow up on junk food. I did not grow up in America. And the kind of junk food we had, it was like you go down to the corner shop and you have chicken, or you go pick up a curry. It's very different.
Isn't there French fries?
Than eating. We had chips. But again, it wasn't McDonald's where it's made of like Frankentatoes?
Sugar and cocaine.
Yeah, sugar and cocaine. Ours were potatoes, deep fried, and then you put salt and vinegar on them. So it's a very...
That sounds amazing.
It's a very, very different experience. Oh, that image is ready.
Oh,
so
okay. Let's just send the image. There it is. Yes.
It's a fighting bear. You need to change your profile picture for a while. Thank you. I love that. Good job. And that was
Gavin. Thank you so much. That was again Mr._thrust, all capital letters. I'm gonna change it to my profile picture for a while. I love that.
Like that.
That's a good one.
I like that very, very much.
And he's got a black belt too. Everything makes sense about this photo. Is he wearing a cod piece?
No, that looks like a tie.
Oh, okay. I like that. He's looking at a cod piece for a second.
Anyway,
nonetheless, speaking of fighting bears. And
weight cutting. You can't eat this shit in front of him. So you're actually gonna have to sit here with your junk food for the remote. He's trying to shove it in his mouth before we guest. I lost my headphones. Do you want to intro our guest? My hair's all messed up under my headphones. I say my hair, my wig. Quick shout out to KMX Stands. Thank you very, very much for always keeping me red carpet ready. They do all my wigs. They do all my hair extensions. They do everything that makes me look like a bombshell and sexy. I'm looking forward to Fashion Week. They'll be doing all my stuff then too.
As well as thank you to Fresh Coachella for always doing up my hair, my beard, making me look amazing for my fights, for all my red carpet events, for anything I have to do where I'm in the public eye. They take care of me.
Tiny Bubbles Hair Salon. They set the wigs, dye the hair. Off-road rentals is our giveaway today, and I'm going to say for that picture of Bear being a bear, I'm going to give that to Gavin. If you're in California, come out to Off-Road Rentals. Gavin will give you an ATV ride at Off-Road Rentals in Palm Springs, California. And if you're not, text Alexis, write in, and we'll mail you some free shit. We get a bunch of some skin toughener.
Yeah, we'll make it work.
We'll give you either skin toughener, or if you're in Cali, come out for a ride. Shout out to Lexi Las Vegas. Thank you so much. We love staying with you.
They have a beautiful hotel in Las Vegas, California.
Go absolutely stay there.
Las Vegas, Nevada.
And Red Light from Bombshell Tans. It actually helps with his bruising. Every time he gets his face fucked up, it really helps him.
It makes me look a lot better.
I legit thought it was bullshit. And I'm talking to the woman there, and I'm like, hey, she's like, no, it'll speed up healing. It helps with wrinkles and this and that. And I'm like, okay, lady.
So you want to know it's not bullshit?
He goes in. It actually helps with his bruising. I have a rash all over me. I go in, it's fucking gone. And I'm like, oh, I thought this was some hippy dippy bullshit. It's legit. So shout out to Bombshell Tans. I'm sorry I secretly called you a liar in my head before I tried it.
Do you want to know it's not bullshit?
What?
Our guest today, Jeff Brady from Cage Warriors. Welcome, sir.
How you guys doing? Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for being on. We appreciate it.
Thank you very, very much for being on. You missed the section where we were talking about fat positivity being bullshit.
I'm not sure I missed it then.
We're talking about Tess Holiday being anorexic. Apparently, she's like 450 pounds, 5'2", and says she's anorexic.
Oh, that's impossible.
That's what I said.
Glad you say that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
See? Common sense is not so common anymore.
Exactly.
So can you tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. Born and raised in San Diego. Been here my whole life. Been around the MMA combat scene before it was even MMA, you know, when it was in back alley warehouses in the late 90s where you didn't wear gloves, you didn't get paid, you just went in and fought for, you know, beer and your pride. But thankfully, myself and my twin brother Greg have been able to stay involved one way or another. So back in the days, with like Total Combat in San Diego, we helped with fighters sponsorships. We worked with companies to help bring sponsorships to Total Combat, so Total Combat could stay around. It was one of the best local pro MMA organizations back in the day. You know, guys like Dominic Cruz started there. Brandon Vera, Joey Beltran, a lot of the guys that have been around in Southern California have worked their way through that program. And then, you know, I've been fortunate enough to work with, you know, Bellator MMA and start with them back when when Scott Coker took them over in 2014, because of our relationships we had with them when it was Strikeforce. And my brother and I own Dan Henderson's old brand, Clinch Gear. So that's one of our brands that we have. So we've, you know, Clinch Gear was a title sponsor for Strikeforce back in the day. We were the reason why Dan left UFC is because, you know, one of the reasons they were pushing sponsorships out, and Dan owned the brand. Mm-hmm. And when his contract was up, he went over to Strikeforce and was able to get the brand, you know, front and center right on the mat. But so that's a brand that we have where my brother and I really focus now on private label apparel. So we do apparel for companies all across the U.S., whether it's a mom and pop, you know, auto body shop to we just did the last 5 years handling every single piece of apparel for the Professional Fighters League. So their fighters, the fight kits.
Oh, really? Okay.
Adding their sponsors on all their gear, actually building their gear. It starts off as a white piece of fabric, and we go from design conception all the way through cut and sew. We have a cut and sew factory in Mexico that does that type of stuff. He has a bunch of
your shirts. The PFL gives him a ton of shit. So that means like he's wearing you're wearing all his stuff.
Yeah, I love that actually.
Yeah.
Well, great. Stuff looks great.
Yeah, it's really great. He wears it all the time.
We're not doing it now going forward. Their new contract is with a company, a competitor.
Fuck them.
Which is,
I mean,
so, you know, we're still involved, and we do all the Cage Warriors stuff now for the U.S. My brother and I are the only 2 U.S. employees of Cage Warriors. They're based in Europe.
Okay.
I think they do 14 to 16 shows a year and throughout Europe, and then we do 4 shows in San Diego. So I'm the U.S. Director of Fighter Operations and Medicals for all the fighters for our San Diego shows. Thankfully, they're all in our backyard, which it's nice because the owner of Cage Warriors splits his time now in between London and Oceanside. He got married to a girl that was here in the U.S., so now he goes back and forth. So he wanted to do some fights here. Well, actually, we approached him. We've known Graham Boland for a long time. We used to do Clinch Gear private label apparels for all of his gyms in London. So when we knew he was here, we were like, let's do some fights here. You already have a great contract with UFC Fight Pass. So, you know, we had a couple of meetings, and then I want to say we're going on our 11th show over 3 years, and we've sold out every single one. Like we can't go into a 10,000 seat venue right now, but we're looking to slowly start going into the 3,000 to 5,000 seat venues, because we'll sell out 1,200 tickets without a problem, without even fighters having to sell tickets.
Oh shit.
Yeah. So we've done one larger venue in Del Mar. We did 3,000 seats and sold that, and the fighters were selling tickets, but we're looking to start expanding and moving into some other bigger locations here in San Diego.
I think part of the reason you guys can do that, this is just like on a side note, one of the things I constantly hear is you are where the future UFC fighters come from. So everybody loves to kind of go and see who the stars of tomorrow will be. Yep. I have a reality show I already sold about this. So that's like the tagline for the show. So don't tell anyone. But basically that you're legitimately where you know, they're going to see tomorrow's UFC fighters. And especially on Reddit, there are whole forums dedicated to who they think is going to get picked up from your label. I don't know if you guys secretly did that, because if so, it's great PR.
We've got,
if not,
we've got great guys
fans
in the marketing. Yeah, no, we do have dedicated fans. We are the largest MMA organization in Europe. Obviously, Bellator was doing some shows there, but we've been there for 15 years across Europe, doing fights all over Europe, not just in the UK, but all over, and in Italy. We've got some stuff coming up in Rome, Istanbul. I mean, we're all over the place when it comes to our fights. And every champion, pretty much every time you become a champion in Cage Warriors, you're going to be making your way over into the UFC, which has been great. So everyone has an idea of what they're fighting for. Conor McGregor, obviously the biggest person that came from Cage Warriors to the UFC 10 years ago or 11 years ago. He was a 2-division champion and went to the UFC. So, you know, we got people like Patty Pimblett and Molly, Meatball Molly are 2 big stars. So now we're building the US crop, and some of our US fighters are now going to be going over to the UK here in the next few months and fighting the current champions for Cage Warriors for a belt, to bring that belt back to the US. And as we do that, we're a lot more eyes and a lot more people are coming over and want to fight for our organization. So it's been great. We definitely have a hard time. The biggest problem we have is matching fighters up, because obviously, Bear, you're in the fight business, and a manager gets involved and they want to fight people they think they can beat. Because, but here's the thing, if you're going to be fighting in a pro organization and you're trying to go into the UFC, you have to fight tough people. So don't dodge fights.
Well, that was one of the things they talked about with Khabib, I believe. They were talking about he got so, you know, the way he did by cherry picking. One of the things we ran into with Bear is it's a back and forth problem, because he has such a big social media presence. A ton of people want to fight him because they want that presence. But we also get like influencers that'll be like, hey, let's do an influencer fight. Then they look him up and they're like, oh, he's like a legit fighter. No.
Yeah.
Like, fuck that.
That was actually, it was an interesting experience to have someone reach out to me and ask if you want to have like a celebrity matchup in a sense. He ended up just being some dude who took jiu-jitsu classes. He didn't realize that I actually competed in shit. So that
and then
was
he called back and he's like, no.
But you make a good point. People tend to try and they try and make it like boxing. They try and pad that record. They try and build themselves up, make themselves look good, and sell that to a company. But it's important that not just the competitive people who sign you also look at who you fought, because that determines how well you'll fight against their own people. And that's something I've noticed from you guys is you guys just put together great fights. You have strong fighters, and I don't look at somebody from your organization and think, man, that guy should not have been in there tonight.
I will say, I've talked to like the marketing people over at the UFC. We work with them. I've talked to people at PFL. Yours is the only organization that isn't sitting there going, and I don't blame them for going, hey, how many followers does this person have? Because that does get butts in seats. Yours is, what kind of fighter are they? I think you are the last organization that does that. Don't tell anyone I said that. I'm getting so much trouble for today.
I appreciate it. Well, we're trying to build these guys up like the UFC would build a guy up once they get into the UFC. You know, again, it's up to the fighter to take the risk, to take a chance on fighting someone that maybe has a better record than them. But again, that's the only way you're going to move up in this organization. You can't beat 5 guys in 5 fights that all had losing records. I mean, there was an organization in San Diego. I won't mention their name. I think they were called Explode. They absolutely sucked because they are unsanctioned, and they would be fighting out in Indian reservation person's backyard under tents.
Oh, he did that shit a lot.
Padding records, fighting guys that had no business even getting. You know, obviously, if you guys remember the viral video about Elima McFarlane beating up a soccer mom. Yeah, absolutely. It was one of Alima's first fights, but she was training and she got in there with a lady that looked like she didn't even know how to put her gloves on, and it was not good. And that company, thankfully, after that went viral, Andy Foster and CSAC cracked down on unsanctioned fights in California. Basically, if you're a fighter, if you're fighting an unsanctioned fight in California and then you want to go become a pro and fight on sanctioned cards, they might not license you because of you doing that. So
he has never fought unsanctioned. He has not done a shit ton of unsanctioned fights.
Well, never. I know he's got. I know Bear's got some. amateur fights with Epic, which is a good organization with Jason. To get some good fights because Harvey, who matches the fights up there, matches very, very well. He doesn't match people up that that shouldn't that are going to be like look embarrassed in the cage. That's what you don't want. You don't want that as an organization. You don't want to have two guys fighting each other and one guy's just getting the piss beat out of him and looks like he doesn't belong in there. And that's what sets us apart.
I can't even defend Hollywood when I say this. No. You don't want to see that. Me, from like a Hollywood perspective, yes, I do. That's a viral moment.
Yeah. Well, you can. Yeah, that's what you see in the movies.
Just some guy.
I'm sitting here. I'm like, and this is why everyone thinks we're bad people. That's all like Hollywood.
Well, yeah, and I've been involved with sponsoring fighters that are fighting in. Gladiator Challenge was known to do that as well. Again, they were doing.
He fought a gladiator.
Like I almost feel like they picked someone out of the back room and said, "Hey, have you fought before? Do you want to get in there for $200?" And it's just,
dude, you repeated almost word for word. The last show they had before the pandemic hit in 2020, I went there. One of my guys was fighting from my gym, a heavyweight belt on the line. The dude showed up for weigh-ins, didn't show up for the fight, and they're sitting there with the dude in the cage. They called the other guy, didn't walk out. No idea where he went, just dipped.
And his guy had already paid.
So the announcer was given the instruction and told the audience, anyone want to fight this dude for $200?
I know. To me, that's how it used to be when I would fight. There weren't really weight classes, when Hoist would fight a 400-pound guy. But we've come such a long way from that. And again, I've been to events. We won't sponsor any fighter that's involved. We don't want our name and our brand even in the cage involved with that, because we went to an event and there was a 160-pound guy fighting a guy that was probably 230. And I'm like, this is just absolutely.
Oh, hell no.
And I can understand if you're a super good trained professional, you can hold your own against a bigger guy. But when you've just started training and you think you want to make an attempt at doing it, you have to be matched up with someone who at the beginning who is a little bit more to your equal in size and experience, or it's not going to be a good.
You're also talking about something with like long-term brain damage, physical damage. I mean, what you're doing is protecting these fighters. And I think that's commendable, because I've been with him to a lot of those really shitty reservation fights. Not that he's ever done them, because he totally wants to still be allowed to fight. Yeah. It was some other guy that looked like him.
That was when he was a teddy bear. He's a bear now.
Thank you.
But the difference in like your shows versus the Epic shows, and even like amateur pro, it doesn't matter, versus those reservation fights, you hear about, people getting seriously hurt. It's like when they go to Russia and fight and you hear about dudes dying. Without those sanctioning bodies, as much as people complain, I know one of the things I write in on Twitter is you guys are too hard on everything. And no, you're saving lives and you're saving people from CTE.
Absolutely. California does. I'm dealing with that right now. I've got fighters that are trying to get all of their, a lot of the time, their tests are good for a year. Some are good for 3 years. To be honest, we're a lower organization. We're not paying people $10,000 to fight. So a lot of these guys their pay is almost equal to what it costs to get all their medicals done, because their medicals are expensive. Thankfully, there's doctors like up in San Pedro, Dr. Gluckman. I'll do a shout out to him because we use him a lot. They're like a one-stop shop that actually schedule all of your appointments between 1 and 2 days. And they're about 50 to 60% less in cost than if you went and scheduled an appointment with a neurologist or an ophthalmologist all on your own.
If you give us his social media, a lot of people that want to fight follow him. We'll put his social media up.
We've got people that actually fly into LA area and go and see him because of the cost savings that he does for people. He's called He's called the Fight Doctor. Everyone in pro MMA have been using him. But kind of going back to what you're saying about CTE, there was an organization a few years back before COVID that started in Vegas, and the promoter was from Russia. So we had a lot of European Russian fighters coming over. When they had to start doing all of their testing with the Nevada State Athletic Commission, half of the card did not pass their MRIs for having bleeding in their brain.
Oh my God. What the fuck?
Yes, because those guys fight They were fighting like once a week in Russia. They're fighting all the time, no testing, nothing. So after that happened, it was about a week to 10 days before the fight card was supposed to happen. The whole company just imploded and went away. They didn't even get a fight. They didn't even get a fight card.
That's awful.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, good. I'm glad those guys didn't get to fight.
But they went back to Russia and probably still keep fighting.
Still doing it.
Yeah.
Well, it's one of the things.
That.
I heard the same thing. I'm going to get in so much trouble. Sue me if you want. Okay. I heard the same thing about Eagle FC. We had a friend of his, Fernando Gonzalez, ask us. He used to fight with Bellator. Ask us to reach out to Eagle FC for him. Eagle FC had exactly the same problem. All the dudes they'd brought in from Eastern Europe could not exactly the same freaking problem. And so we're on the phone with them and they're like, well, you know, we'd prefer if he got his physical out here. I'm like, I'm not helping with this anymore.
Yeah, it's kind of shady at that point.
It's really bad.
Yeah, they're not around anymore either.
No, for exactly the same reason.
Yeah.
So
we sponsored Fernando for his entire Bellator career.
Oh, perfect.
Oh, that's awesome.
I'm glad you guys know each other.
Yeah.
He gave him cauliflower ear.
Yeah. Well, my brother and I are best friends with Dan Henderson, so we have a lot of,
that makes sense.
We're up at the gym a lot. Yeah.
I see you guys at least at the couple of the last shows because I'm usually commentating at that point.
Yeah, we're usually up there. Yep.
That's very cool.
We're gonna try to make the next one in March.
That's where that's where I met him, was up in the VIP area while you were commentating. After I made someone, so I yelled at somebody and made them cry, and then I met him and I liked him.
Oh, that's very good then. I'm glad. You know, I'm curious about something.
Dan's wife has respectfully asked me to stop making their guests cry. So I went and talked to you. I liked you.
I did not cry.
Yes. Well, you're lovely.
Thank you.
I get a lot of people who ask me the question of how do you get into a bigger fight organization? And I can talk however I want from experience with my own friends and training partners and coaches, but I've not done it myself. So I think I'll ask you, when you're looking at the fighters of tomorrow, what do you expect from them to have or to be when they fight under your guys' name?
I mean, he's a good bear.
One of the things is it's not always the fighter. Like sometimes I will, if a fighter doesn't have a manager, I can deal with them or myself. I'm not the matchmaker. Ian Dean is our matchmaker, but Ian Dean is in the UK. So my brother and I also help him, send him names of people that we've come across that are interested in fighting. But a lot of the times the managers are, again, they cherry pick and they want their fighter to take the easiest fights to get wins to get into the UFC. I would say as a fighter, don't allow your manager to completely dictate your career. I know it's their job to make sure they make the right decisions, but it's you and your coach's job to actually look at the opponents they're offering you and do the research on your own and think if it's a good decision for you. Because only fighting once, I mean, you only have your age and your talent for so long. And if you're not fighting 2 to 3 times a year in the lower level shows like ours, you're doing yourself a disservice and you're not getting enough wins or enough experience. So I would say don't not fight people because you think that it's going to be a tough fight or it's going to be hard to get that win. And then just reach out to the matchmakers and tell them who you are and that you're interested in fighting. Again, if you have a manager, sometimes the matchmaker is going to ask you if you have a manager, because sometimes the managers get very pissy if you don't go through them and you're talking to their fighter.
You had that happen too. Sorry.
Yeah. So
that too.
Yeah. So I don't care if I'll straight go to the fighter. I've had as being a brand that sponsored fighters. I hated it when I couldn't talk to the fighter because a lot of the times the manager would lie to the fighter on how much I was paying them and keeping a lot of the money.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
I found that out. Yes, 100%. So I would found that out and I'm just like, no, I'm letting your fighter know how much he's supposed to be getting, because I've been in this game for a long time and I actually build a personal relationship with a lot of the fighters we sponsor. To this day, I'm still friends with like Steve Cazzola, who was up from Dan's gym, who made it to Bellator and had a good career. I stay in contact with them and I'm trying to benefit them and make them as much money as possible and not have, I'm not saying all managers are that way, but there are some that are,
you're right though,
that are that way.
And there's not the protection in the fight game with managers that there is in like in my world, in Hollywood, in media and film and television. It's not just the unionized. If somebody fucks someone over in Hollywood, no one will work with them. But because this is such a new sport,
correct,
everyone's learning the hard way. And it sucks to say it that way, but they are. So it's a great place for predatory people because these guys are so chill. I've worked with models. They are giant pains in the ass. Fighters, easiest people in the world to work with. No aggression, just chill. It's amazing.
Those bad managers wind up getting weeded out, and they don't make it very long because, as you know, Bear, you need a good manager to help you, because if you're training and you're dieting and you're training, twice a day, it's a hard time for you to focus on what medicals you need to go. How do you schedule your appointment? Yep. If you have a manager that's on top of it, he knows exactly what you need and he's making your appointments for you and just tells you, hey, this is what time you need to be there. Those are the managers I like dealing with. Unfortunately, some of these fighters are just like, I'm like, they go to their tests and they don't listen to anything I told them. They don't look at their email. They go and get these tests done and they're not even on the California State Athletic Commission paperwork. They send it back to me and I'm like, this is not going to be accepted. It's on a letterhead your physical exam's on a letterhead from this doctor's office. They're not going to take that. And then now they have to go back, spend additional money to get it done right. Where a good manager is going to make sure that does not happen with their fighter.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, and especially with the whole coaches helping you pick your fights and determining that what happens in that regard. Because I'm very fortunate to have my manager. I don't know if you met her at the event as well, but Alexis Romero.
She's the fight manager. You've got your media manager, Yana.
And then my person who runs my social media and my sponsorship stuff, Yana.
She's your manager. And
they basically depict my life outside, and especially Lex will be like, hey, you're going here at this time, don't be late. And that's what helps me when I'm dealing with all this other stuff. But it's my coach, Joe Stevenson, who ultimately like, hey, let's look at this guy. These are the options. Hang on. These are the people who are good for you to fight.
Yeah. So Yana, his manager Yana, will send him to like Fashion Week. We'll put him in magazines. She's incredible. Alexis does his fights. Here's the thing. Joe isn't looking for the easiest fight. He has terrible stage fright. So Joe's like, I think this guy can kick the shit out of him. So let's put him in there and make sure he fights. So that's Joe's plan. So
yeah,
no offense. Like, your coach is not doing you any, hey, don't fight this guy favors. He's doing let's go out of state because this guy can kick the crap out of you. And if he hits you enough, you'll fight back. That's how we get rid of the stage fright.
I love Joe, but on a 2 days notice, he comes to me on a 2 days notice. And he's like, hey, there's this guy. His opponent dropped out. He's 10 pounds heavier than you. His jiu-jitsu black belt, and he smoked his last guy in 30 seconds. You're going to fight him. And I'm like, all right, yeah, that's cool, man. Fuck me.
Yeah. Joe's pretty good at picking and letting he's got some fighters. He's got fighters coming up on my next card, and we've talked about the matchup that he had with his fighter, and he basically told his fighter, this matchup's perfect for you. You need to take it because it's going to be a hard fight, but I know, based off the skills your coach knows, and if he watches tape, he knows whether or not you can pull it off.
Yes.
So do you think a good team, I'm going to cut you off there. Okay. Do you think a good team and a good relationship with the fighters team makes a difference? Because something I've heard repeatedly when I'm talking to these guys, you have like, in the fight world, at least the guys with a following have their fight manager and they have their manager. And as long as everyone works cohesively together, it's fine. But there's always like some dude with their girlfriend who's managing them. Do you find that to be problematic?
if they're a problem, I mean, for instance, we just had our last card. We had a fighter who I really liked, who was a good fighter in Bellator. He had a couple of losses, was cut from Bellator, and he's trying to make his way back into a bigger organization. And his opponent missed weight by 2 pounds, and he was going to take the fight. He agreed to it, was taking the 20% penalty, a 20% to his purse. But then an hour and a half later, he came back to us and said, I'm not taking the fight. I talked to my wife and she told me not to take it, so I'm not taking it now. So that fighter then took a fight 6 weeks later and fought another guy and got submitted in 60 seconds of the first round. So sometimes it's, just because I understand if a fighter misses weight, 80% of the time, the heavier fighter wins the fight. But you have to take some chances.
If you miss weight, I will smack you.
Well, I actually had a guy who came in 2 fights ago. He came in for 185-pound fight at 191 pounds. Yeah. And
Joe still had you fight him.
We still fought him. We just had the stipulation of like, cool, you just can't come back higher than this weight then.
Correct.
You can't come back to. And it worked out. I actually really liked that. They weighed him that evening. He wasn't overweight, and it worked out just fine in the fight for me in that case. So I like when
Yeah, but Joe was insistent. He still wanted you fighting him because he wanted
Right.
that fight.
Well, some guys you look at them, maybe you can attest to this too. Some guys you look at them and think, man, this guy is full of shit. He definitely could have lost that weight. He's not trying, or he didn't put in the effort. He's trying to be a higher weight class.
Us.
This guy walked in fucking dead. He was crawling up to the scale.
Yeah.
So
no, you can definitely tell if someone's got more in them, and if they have a history of missing weight or things like that.
No, this was the guy's first time. Like there was nothing like that.
Hmm.
What do you think is a predictor of a star? Like I can tell you from the Hollywood angle why Conor McGregor is huge. What do you think predicts a star? Not just in the cage, but in MMA. In 100 years, Conor McGregor will be the MMA fighter we remember from this time. What do you think the next guy will be? What do you think the predictor is?
What they like Chael Sonnen always says, you need to talk. You need to know how to talk. You need to call people out. Obviously, you need to have talent. Your talent speaks. You got to have talent. If you're getting your ass kicked in the ring and you still talk a lot of shit, So if you got the talent and you got a mouth that that can talk very well, and you're not European or you're not Irish, and it sounds exactly like you're Conor McGregor 2.0.
Yeah.
You have your own style, like Sugar Sean O'Malley. He doesn't back down from fights. He takes hard fights that he may lose. And people respect that, and fans will follow you. The Diaz brothers, flipping people off the cage when they're putting them in triangle chokes, and just having that persona about you. You have to make people want to tune in to watch you fight. And you can't do that by just being quiet or turning down fights. You have to grab the microphone and seize the moment. You have to be there and you have to talk, but you have to also talk clearly, and people need to understand you, and you don't sound like an idiot. Like
when Conor McGregor broke.
It's a very good point. Yeah.
I love when Conor McGregor broke his leg, and from the floor, he's still challenging the other dude. Like he is setting up the next fight from the floor.
He is. He's
brilliant.
Excellent at that. But again, everyone's learned it from the master, and that is Chael Sonnen.
Yeah.
100%.
Oh, agreed. Absolutely.
Yeah.
He was the first guy to do it. And he was I think he was the only one really crushing it on the mic at that time, because it was a skill set that no one was bringing to the table except for him.
And that's what made him money and got him the fights that he got because of that. And, it still happens with a few guys, and some people don't want to talk and don't want to be that type of fighter. But if you're trying to get the big fights and you're trying to get your name out there and get people following you, you got to you can be a heel like Colby, where people still want to watch you, but they want to watch you get your ass kicked, but they're still tuning in. Yeah. So, you're not always going to be liked talking shit, but you don't have to always talk shit, but you just have to be able to talk and sound good when you're talking and calling people out and things like that. So
I think
obviously having a good following too on your social media helps.
I agree there. I think if Chael Sonnen had come in later, he would be as big as Conor McGregor. I think he came in just before that wave of social media. I say the same thing about Sam Alvey. Sam Alvey has a huge social media following now. And had that happened, had social media happened 10 years earlier, I think Chael Sonnen and Sam Alvey would be kind of the opposites, the shit talker and the good guy. And Conor McGregor he put the work in, no joke. So for anyone out there, he took his first paycheck, put it towards a publicist, and then hired people to make a documentary about his rise to fame when he had none. This man played it right, but he also came in on the rise of social media. So he had that going for him. Where I think Chael Sonnen, the reason he's not going to be remembered the same way is simply because of that just timing.
Correct.
And sometimes timing kicks you in the ass.
The good thing about someone like Sam Alvey, who obviously I've known forever as well, he knew what his limits were, and he decided he had a very good persona, this smiling Sam. He could talk good on the microphone, but he never turned down a fight. 3 different weight divisions he would fight. He'd fight on a week's notice. He was a company man because he knew where he stood. He knew he wasn't going to be in the top 5. He knew he was a gatekeeper, and they knew they were bringing new guys in to make themselves look good against Sam. So Sam kind of knew he wanted to obviously knock you out and he wanted to get the win, but he also knew that if he didn't get the win, but looked good in there and fought hard and was a company man, he was going to keep getting the fights. Obviously he had a lot of losses towards the end of his career, but he was tough. He was you never knew if he was going to win or lose because he could catch you with that bomb, that hand. But he was a company man, and he
Well, they
wasn't
traded
trying to
his-
cherry pick his opponents, you
No.
know.
No.
So that's why he had a long career in the UFC. If he would have had some more wins mixed in some of those losses, he would probably still be close to fighting there. I mean, I know he's at the age now where he
Well, he's
shouldn't be
over
fighting,
at
but
Karate Combat, and he's their new
Correct.
champion. And he
I saw that. Yep.
Yeah, he did amazing. And then he's got some other stuff there. And I know Yana works with, she's his manager as well. And I know she and I have been talking to the WWE about him going over there.
That would be a good
home for him.
Excelling there for sure.
Well, his wife won America's Next Top Model. Like when you talk about somebody that has the perfect branding, he's the good guy. He's a UFC fighter, and his wife is an absolute smoke show. Like,
well, he's a family man. He's adopted children. They've adopted children. No, he's got a good story behind him, and that would be a good fit for him, especially at his age right now. He's got some good years left, and he's got likability. People know who he is.
He's got a ton of followers.
Yeah, that'd be a good move for him for sure.
So that's what Yana. It's actually they share a manager.
You make talking about Sam's age and knowing when to stop a little bit when you're fighting. What are some indications that someone should be like, stop stepping into the cage?
When they shit themselves. That was a direct quote.
Well, if that happens in the cage, that's an automatic loss.
Really?
Oh my God!
Yeah, I didn't know that.
If you shit yourself or if you puke and they catch it, they call it off. Yeah.
That sucks because these guys are weight cutting and taking laxatives.
I know.
Like
it doesn't happen a lot. It has happened before. I mean, you could see it in their shorts. It didn't roll out of their shorts, but it stayed in their shorts. But a good indicator for them to stop fighting is, first of all, a lot of the times fighters don't know how to say no and stop fighting. You know how it is. You love it. It's your career. You make money. You don't know what you're going to do later. That's the sad part of it is going too long. Sam probably went a little too long in his career with his losses, but he wasn't getting beat to the point where he's getting surgery on his face and things like that. He's not getting his orbitals broke. But I think once you start getting, from the age 38 to 42, your times, you're not going to be able to compete with these 25, 26, 27-year-olds anymore. And you need to start to figure out your way out. I mean, not all of us can be like Dan Henderson and fight for a championship at 46 years old. So that's very, very, very rare. And in my eyes, he won the championship at 46 years old.
Oh yeah,
he looked amazing. That's to say the least.
For sure.
Well, if you've seen a picture of what he looked like after the fight and what Bisping looked like after the fight, you would think that Bisping lost for sure.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
No, it's crazy. And I love that he's got that one trademark shot on Bisping.
The H-bomb?
Flying through the air.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like the jump. It's like the Jordan Jumpman logo, just with a fist.
I love that.
He's got a bobblehead of it. Dan has like a legit bobblehead of him throwing the H-bomb. I freaking love that.
He did.
Well, as we come to the end of the show here, so I just want to ask if you have anything you want to say to the audience of people, especially from a perspective of someone who works so heavily in the fight industry, what would that be?
Fighters that are listening to this that are, there's a lot of good fight organizations here in Southern California and Northern California. Reach out to their Cage Warriors. Let me give you guys our matchmaker's email real quick. It's ian.dean@cagewarriors.com. He can definitely get you guys all set up. As far as talking to you, as far as what my brother and I do, we do apparel for any company, screen, embroidery, full design, cut and sew sublimation, large and small orders we can do. We've got some clients that will do 15,000 shirts a month to 126 shirts a month. So we're GB Apparel and Design .com, and anything that we can do to help, get more business. Like I said, we do a lot of the MMA organizations now. We are do the Cage Warriors stuff. We were doing Bellator, like those. If you see those cool Bellator gear bags they give the fighters, my brother and I designed those and had those made in our factory. So we're always looking for new opportunities.
Hell yeah.
But I'm going to say, Alexis, will you please make sure you put up a link to his apparel store? Will you please make sure you put up a link to the doctor, and please put up a link to the matchmaker for, let's actually not put the link to the matchmaker. That's he's got like 1 million followers. We don't want to do that. We'll put that on his Instagram. Like,
Perfect.
So,
Yeah,
a little bit smaller there.
Little smaller.
Yeah.
Like, we don't want to do that. That's
perfect. Yeah, Alexis can send me an email, and I can email that information to her, and we would definitely appreciate it.
And we'll put that up on your social media. Thank you.
And
so
I'll see
much
you guys.
for
Yeah, I'll see you guys up in March for Hindo's
Absolutely.
fight night. All
Yes,
right.
you will.
And
Thanks,
I'd
guys.
love to have you on again anytime you have, a fight coming up or something you want to talk about. We're always happy to have you on. We're happy to have your guys on if you want to pump a fight. Thank you so
Perfect.
much for joining
I appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
All right. Take
Bye.
care.
Guys, thank you for joining us for Behind the Scenes. I'm Summer Helene. This is the guy that just ate an entire Big Mac, a pack of fries. We'll see
And
you
I
next-
still got to lose 10 pounds.
I'm sorry I brought it on, honey. I was trying to prove a point.
That's okay. We'll touch ears in solidarity.
Yay. All right. We'll see you next week. Good night.
This has been Behind the Scenes with Summer Helene and Bear Fiorda. Only on Talk 4 Media.